Uganda is a landlocked country in East Africa with gorgeous landscapes, abundant wildlife, and is home to one of the warmest people in the world. However, climate change is affecting this beautiful country through the worsening disasters that threaten its people on a yearly basis. Flooding has become more severe and is a huge problem in Uganda. At the end of 2019 alone, more than 65,000 people were displaced from the eastern, western and northern regions of the country. And every year the country has to endure economic consequences amounting to $62 million in GDP. These disasters are also claiming the lives of people and their livelihoods every year. Flood risk mitigation efforts in Uganda have to be strengthened. However, support from the government has been minimal. But what if we can empower local communities so that they can mitigate the risks of floods themselves? What if we can build a culture of preparing before the disaster strikes so that casualties can be reduced? We have designed a community-led early warning and early action strategy for a specific village in Uganda called Namabasa in Mbali. And in order to achieve scalability of impact, we have also developed a manual so that you may be able to replicate this strategy in other areas of the country. As floods come with many challenges, the one that was chosen for the original project is how we can get women to safety in emergency flood situations. Here is how the strategy will work. When the rainy season starts, public megaphones will be installed in the village centre of Namabasa. This is an effective tool for disseminating information because it can reach thousands of people at once. Then, local leaders will use these megaphones to reach out to the youth, to form a rescue coalition, and will be expected to save the women when the floods happen. The youth will be given first aid training by Red Cross and receive branded t-shirts to increase their sense of ownership in the coalition. During this phase, local volunteers will also be given the training to predict floods using simple methods, which will be explained in the following phase. As the rain gets more intense, volunteers will monitor the situation using 3 indicators to predict floods: humidity of the soil, increase of the river's height, and precipitation levels across multiple locations in the village. Then, they will communicate these findings in a village meeting with local leaders and a weather expert from Red Cross. The meeting is held to come up with a decision on whether the villagers should take early action based on the observed indicators. When the situation becomes more serious, local leaders will disseminate early warning information to the community so everyone can be better prepared for the impending disaster. In order to save women in emergency flood situations, the use of boats made using locally sourced materials will be needed. A boat is an effective tool because it can also rescue other people in the household, such as children and the elderly. To make these boats, the youth, Red Cross, volunteers, and the women's group gather banana tree stems, a resource that is abundant in these villages. Then, they come together and start making the boats as a collective activity. These boats are eventually placed in the most flood-prone locations in the village, ready to be used once floods strike. When the community predicts that floods are going to happen soon, based on the indicators that have been observed, a school called Namabasa Secondary will be converted into a temporary shelter to accommodate women and their loved ones. During this phase, all stakeholders prepare the shelter by bringing supplies, building sanitary facilities, and setting up extra tents. The youth and volunteers are on standby at specific points where the boats are placed, and as soon as the floods strike, they are ready to save women and their loved ones. They travel to a point where they need to go uphill, and from there, they take motorbikes to reach the shelter. Once they reach the shelter, they will be greeted by Red Cross and the local NGOs. They will be able to safely stay in the shelter for 3 to 5 days until the floodwaters have gone. This way, they will hopefully be able to return safely to their homes after the disaster passes. As this solution has been designed only for the village of Namabasa, Mbali, a manual has been developed for you to be able to replicate this early warning and early action strategy in another location in Uganda. With your help, we will be able to scale the impact in more areas of the country and build a culture of acting early before disasters happen. If you are interested to take part in the movement, you can download the manual and supporting documents by scanning this QR code.